Hey guys, my name is Fragile, and today I'll be talking about raids, lockouts, loot systems, and how Pantheon will hopefully handle them in the future. Let's go. Okay, so first let's go over what we do know. Joppa has stated that there will be 12 and 24 person raids, as well as very rewarding single group content. Well, let's break this down starting with the single individual group. Now this will be 6 person, as groups are 6 people in Pantheon. Now I relate this more to like the GOD or Gates of Discord and EQ style of single group content. They are very challenging. At the beginning of the expansion they rewarded very nice gear, and then later on you could go back and do it with alts and get easier gear then. So I think this is kind of similar to what they're aiming for, but it also could be more of like your Plane of Justice trials, where it was kind of fun and fast and hard at the start, but then once you got some gear it was a joke. Or you could even look towards maybe the Kivik zone in EQ. That was a raid zone, and originally you had the ghosts that dropped armor, and you'd want to do those with a raid, but then eventually that became kind of single group content. And when you look at that, those goats were actually pretty hard when they're first released, and trying to do that with a one group, it might be very challenging. So let's move on to the next version, which would be the 12 person. Now 12 persons, 2 groups, 12 people, and this is where it really gets fun, I think. My personal favorite would be Karazhan from WoW. That was 10 people at the time, but this is where content can really get challenging but fun, and also have very good rewards. So that's kind of what I think they're going for with the 12 person. And then finally we have the 24 person raid, which is the bigger raid, which is going to have 4 groups because math, and then you're going to have lots more flexibility in this version than compared to the 12, because you're going to have more people, but also it should probably have the hardest difficulty and be the most challenging, and hopefully drop the best rewards. Now I don't believe that they are going to just have a button to click to switch between 12 and 24 person. I believe that it's going to be completely different raids, different bosses, to figure out what is 12 and what is 24. Well, now that's been laid out, let's talk about balance and how will the item power scale with the number of people per encounter. I'm not sure that linear scaling will work out the best here, but generally the 24 person raid has to have the best loot, outside of course of epic rewards. Now when I say epic rewards, I mean epic quests and things like that. Otherwise there will be no point to do them, raids or epics. Balance has to be correct with loot and items as far as raiding goes, and this sort of trickles down to the 12 man and the single group. I absolutely want hardcore group content, but items probably need to be limited here to keep the raiding scene open and available for everyone to do. Otherwise, what's the point? If you don't have good items, then why do it? You can just go hit up your buddy and his friends and not worry about raids or guilds. Who cares? But like I said, you need to have that to keep the raiding content relevant. Doing a setup kind of like this or similar will help keep the game at a healthy level for all types of playstyles. Being a guild leader with so many facets of content like this can actually really bring on anxiety though. I remember leading a guild during the height of Karazhan, and you're gonna have dead weight in a guild, but when you're generally raiding, as a maybe 25-30 person guild, and you have 10 man content, and in Pantheon's case 12, you have to split your guild, split your raid force down to 2 groups, and you have to hope that you're getting not only the right people in the right groups, the right compositions, the right class makeup, and then you want to go in there and be successful. But this kind of can go the opposite on you when you're doing this as a guild leader, you might not get the, so-and-so wants to play with someone, it's his buddy, and he's not in that group, and then he's pissed at you, or the other raid isn't successful and the first raid was, and then you have just kind of ongoing drama and no one's happy. Now, like I said, this is just crazy anxiety, and I hope that this doesn't happen. Otherwise, it could kind of force the game into having, guilds focused on 12 and guilds focused on 24, which that might be the case to avoid potential problems, but I don't know, in the end I might have just been a shitty guild leader. But raid lockouts, how will they work? How will they exist? Lockouts, ghosting, instances, free-for-all, Wild West, these are the hot topics as far as Pantheon goes right now. And I think ghosting is a cool idea, and there's been kind of different types of this, but kind of goes hand in hand with lockouts. And ghosting is kind of when a raid target is up pretty much every hour, but if you killed it within X amount of days, you'll basically have a lockout and you won't be able to interact with it. And when it comes to non-instanced open world raids with no lockouts, well, I think this would be an absolute mistake for Pantheon if they set raids up this way, as it leads to monopolization of content by the top 2 guilds on each server. And I think the best way to handle high-end raid content is with instances. Now, when I say instances, a lot of you might shudder. However, I'm only talking about raid targets specifically. This way everyone is on the same playing field with the same opportunity to not only experience the content, get fat loots, and gain character progression, all without the need for bat phoning or spawn camping raid targets. I just want to reinforce that fact. I'm only talking high tier raids, not single group content or dungeons. I don't want my instance leveling experience. I don't want that. I don't want instant quests. I just want high end tier raids instanced. I do believe there should be open world contested outdoor targets as well. It kind of is a bit of both worlds. You have your high-end tier progression style raids instanced for everybody with accessibility. However, I do want to point out that just because it's accessible doesn't mean that it's easy. So that's where you can have your difficulty be, is the dungeon is hard, the raid is hard. That's where your separation is, not because Joe Schmo over here is sitting at a spawn for 40 hours straight. Well, some other dude is at work and he's got to support his kids. I mean, that's not fair. Everyone wants to raid. Everyone wants to have fun in the game. Now, I believe that the PvE raid content should be made in a way that's accessible by a wide range of people in a user-friendly way. Now, since we have covered kind of the raids, types, and styles, let's go back over the loot. And everyone wants that fat loot. And loot is a massive system, a very important one at that. And I really loved how EQ, EverQuest, had a linear and non-linear loot system. Now, this is talking all kinds of gear, from clickies, illusions, rare items that just kept you back going to lots of different content and zones throughout the world. I believe that Pantheon needs to, and most likely will have this kind of thing. And as I hinted at before, the item balance for single group, 12, and 24 person loot must make sense. Also, epic quests and items need to be just that. They need to be epic, bro. Epic. Remember when warriors had lightsabers for swords after they completed their 1.0s? Man, that was just awesome. If the loot gets balanced correctly, and for example, we're going to try and get our summoner friend a sweet pet spell from a 6-man raid dungeon on Tuesday, and then we're trying to get our Dire Lord buddy a new 2-hand sword from a 12-man boss on Thursday, this is kind of what you want. You want reasons to go and do this separate but also difficult raid content. Alright, now that we have our fat loots dropping, and boom, Billy Bob just ninja looted that paladin 2-hander and left the group. Now what? Well guys, it's very important to have great functioning loot systems and mechanics in Pantheon as well. I think WoW did a great job here implementing an option for the group leader to select which style of loot they wanted for the group or raid. Now, this was at the time free-for-all, round robin, need before greed, and assigned looter, master looter. And let's kind of go through this here. Free for all, anyone can loot anytime. As soon as the mob dies, who can click it fastest gets it. Round robin is when there's, certain items that are worth value. It'll just start at the top of the group. They'll get the first one, and the next person gets the next one, and so forth. Need before greed. This is when dialogue dice or whatever pop up, and you'll basically say, yes, I need it, and a random roll will happen, and the people that also may need it would roll. If no one needed it, then it would go to a greed roll, and then it's kind of fair but not fair that way. And then assigned looter, your master looter, will be when someone in the raid or group is specifically designated to hand out all the drops. Now, of these four, they pretty much could have a useful space. However, in your average pug, in my opinion, it has to be round robin, unless like a rare item drops, and at that point the group hopefully has to come up with a solution to deal with those rare items. This could still be round robin if everyone is planning to sell the items, but you probably want need before greed on them. Now, the thing that drives me absolutely crazy is when people say, hey, but I have an alt that needs it, or I need it to sell, guys, it's gotta be fair. Well, don't be douches, man, come on. I guess this is, the huge benefit of grouping with friends and guildmates. And keep in mind, things like group looting system can really influence community, and specifically an individual's reputation. So don't ninja loot, guys. Hashtag community matters, right? I'm very confident that Pantheon will get these elements right, as they have so much experience on the Visionary Realms team. It makes me very excited to have the potential content and reasons to go conquer it. And I hope this video has given some perspective on these topics, and hopefully I didn't entice too much rage. However, please click on the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to comment below, as I'll reply to many people as I can. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as I'll be producing more Pantheon content as much as I can via here on YouTube, or even once the NDA drops and Alpha comes out, I'll be streaming, so I'll put my Twitch link in the comments below. Obviously I don't really play anything right now, so I'm not streaming anything, but if I got elected to the streamer program or the NDA came down, I'm definitely be streaming. Thanks again for watching. Bye guys.